Are running shoe prices getting out of hand? I don't think anybody can deny that the price is only going one way, and that is up. With that ALPHAFLY NEXT Percent 2 now on sale over at Nike at the eye-watering price of £289.95, here in the UK at least. Is it long before we get a running shoe that's over £300? Let's discuss. Thanks for joining me on the channel, people. It's Ed, midsole Bud here. Hope you've been enjoying the content recently. If you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button and also click that bell for notifications. It really does help us out too if you give this video a thumbs up, like, and also share it with your running buddies. Dankeschön. Talking about running shoe prices today, they are only going in one direction, and that is up. That's surely going to put off a few possible buyers. People are strapped for cash right now with those current economic problems. I'm going to try and sort of balance the argument out here a little bit. You know me, I like to look at it from both sides of the coin. I mean, some people are going to defend the increasing prices here. There's significant research that goes into some of these new running shoes. They try and improve things model on model, changing things up just subtly sometimes, other times with much more audacious sorts of changes. But when we see quite large increases in price and the only thing that's really changed is like a colorway or something, I start to wonder, where will this madness end? I mean, if we keep on buying the shoes at that price, will the manufacturers keep on thinking they can sell them at that price? I was alarmed to see that ALPHAFLY NEXT Percent 2 latest colorway drop for almost £290 here in the UK. That's a whole £20 more than the previous versions. I mean, all brands have got their top line shoes for serious dough. The on-running Cloud Boom Echo is £230. The Adidas Prime X comes in at the same £230 price tag. And the Endorphin Elite set to drop for £280 here in the UK. Even daily shoes like the Nike Invincible Run Flyknit 3 is set to drop for an increase, further inflated £170. Not far off the likes of the Asics Gel Nimbus 25 and the Fuel Cell SC Trainer that retailed for over £200. In the early super shoe days, the Vaporfly 4% Flyknit retailed at a crazy price of £210. That almost seems like reasonable now, I suppose. Although you compare it up against the Vaporfly NEXT Percent 2 and that's about £225, so there's not a massive increase there. Now, there does appear to be a trend for these maximally stacked high cushion shoes now. 40mm in the heel, that is the standard now, where the midsole foam's been pushed to the absolute limits and beyond sometimes when we've got things like the Prime X. That certainly is the case with the Endorphin Elite, with a very slender increase over the Endorphin Pro 3. I wonder if that shoe will be more significantly limited in stock. Is it that it's going to be only available in very small quantities? That tends to make a shoe even more desirable and make people want to buy it just to show that they've got it. Though as a shoe that's specifically for running and certainly running marathons, I suppose, I can't see it gaining that sort of attention from like the sneakerheads who want to sort of buy it because it's a rare shoe. No one's going to be wearing this one casually, are they? Come on. Though of course many of Nike and Adidas's recent collaborations are just that, really. They're casual shoes. Thinking about it, there's very few legacy models in terms of basketball shoes that you actually see popping up in the NBA. There's only like one or two, normally involving Kobe Bryant. The most used shoe at the moment in the NBA is the Nike PG6. Easily the most worn and by far not the most expensive. Though we know basketball players get pretty well paid for what they do. Not saying it's an easy job, I'm just saying they do get paid well. Even the fringe squad players are not short of a few quid. The Paul George model though shows that not always the most expensive shoe is the most used amongst elite athletes. Running though is a more personal challenge, isn't it? Us pitting ourselves against the distance, against time. We don't get gifted loads and loads of shoes by our sponsors, you know, standard people doing races locally or nationally or whatever. Probably got to buy them themselves. We got to find the best ones that fit our running style, and that might not always be the most expensive shoe. We then have to attempt to minimise the donut and pizza consumption and get the training in under our belts. It's not easy. When I examined the most used shoes amongst the viewers last year, stuff like the Nova Blast 2 cropped up. There was the Endorphin Speed 2 as well. Loads of people really enjoyed using the Invincible Run on a more daily basis. You didn't really have any Vaporfly models up there. There were no Adios Pros, anything like that. Everybody's using these more daily, perhaps affordable shoes. Loads of them actually bought on big discounts as well. It does look as if people are leaving those more expensive race shoes for just that really, for racing. If you got a good deal on the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 recently, have you been using it for training too? Or are you just saving it for key races? Let the runners and I know down in the comments. Now, I can understand to a degree a larger purchase on like a key target race shoe. Someone doing a marathon, I can understand them spending out a bit of money and holding that shoe back ready for that key race. Though most mortals, we're not going to be racing every single month, certainly not marathons anyway. Those things are key events and they should be treated as such. You can't get your best out of yourself if you're going to be beating yourself up week in, week out racing every single time. So I see the majority of people using those race shoes or the super shoes or whatever you want to call them for pace workouts only, maybe those longer run tests to make sure the shoe is going to do the trick, and for the main event. Anything less than that for me is a bit of a gamble, I think. Is a shoe going to work for you up to that 26.2 mile distance? Well, we're only really going to know on the day. Perhaps if you've used the shoe in the past, you've got some experience with it, you know that it's going to work for you. But like I said, very few people are going to have that sort of experience perhaps in a specific shoe, certainly if it's a new model. I think a decent long run in your race shoes beforehand is going to let you know that they're going to work to a certain degree. It's not going to destroy them too much, only unless there's a piece of rubber that's missing from a key area. Better to be safe than sorry, I suppose. So from that point of view, I can understand someone buying a certain shoe and kind of holding it back a little bit for a key race and spending some decent money on it. Back in 1979, the Nike Tailwind ushered in a new era. You had an inbuilt air unit in the midsole and a $50 price tag as well. Now, that's some serious cash. If we convert that over to today's money, that's $204. So maybe these very expensive shoes that we have now aren't all that expensive in comparison to 1979. Let's think of that, 44 years later. And actually the barrier pushing shoe in terms of price is kind of there. It's about in that ballpark. Did runners perhaps doubt their sanity back then on picking up a pair of the Tailwind shoes to run their marathon race? Not entirely sure I'd want to run a marathon race in these bad boys right now, but you know, it's a shoe. You can do anything in any shoe, can't you? I remember a viewer letting me know that they really enjoyed running marathons in the SL20, the original version. A lot of people said that that was just like running on balsa wood, but they enjoyed it. It worked for them. I'm not sure that the recent reissue of the Tailwind is exactly like the original. I wouldn't have thought so. Materials change probably over 44 years. The midsole, the rubber, the fabrics used, it's impossible to tell really. So that Vaporfly Next Percent at 225 is still way above the £165 that $204 equates to. If you convert them, that's pretty much what you got. I suppose if you were to grab a pair on discount at around 140, 150, which they are about now on the Nike website at the moment, you've got a pair of shoes that's the equivalent value, I suppose, of the Tailwind back then. Although I would suggest they're a tad more forgiving in terms of the cushion stakes, and they'll be a downsight lighter as well. So are running shoes overpriced right now? I'd suggest that maybe the daily models are a little bit more overpriced than the actual race models. Is the new line of super shoes simply too expensive and not worth the money? Well, I'd say that value is in the eye of the beholder. I'd suggest there's probably loads of research that goes into the design, just tweaking things, lots of prototypes and stuff, but that doesn't really account for the price increase when it's just a different colorway. Plus, these super shoes are a tried and tested cookie cutter sort of method now. We all know what's going to be in there. Very squashy foam, probably 2 slabs of it, some sort of carbon plate where the part in the heel is a little closer to the bottom of your foot. They're all like that, aren't they? It seems like putting some very tactile rubber on the bottom seems to do the job. There you go, maybe I should sell my services to one of these companies. I'm joking. Value is in the eye of the beholder though, isn't it, viewers? One person's trash is another person's gold. I mean, if you get enjoyment out of them and you can afford them, then why not? As long as you're still able to eat and pay your bills and do all that type of stuff, if that's what you want to do with your money, fine. But I do think the top line shoes now are much of a muchness. And I don't think that you can read too much into energy return statistics. Remember, that's more energy loss, really. It's never going to return more than you actually put into it. That's just not going to happen. Your legs, your lungs, your heart, and your head, I suppose, they're the things you got to work on. Perhaps you can place those additional funds that you might save into recovery and that fuel that you're putting into your body to try and improve your performance. and just well-being, I suppose. There's probably a reason why we're seeing the Vaporfly Next Percent 2, the Adios Pro 3 shoes, along with the Asics Metaspeed Sky Plus at these high-level events and finishes. I don't think that that's only down to sponsorship. I think people simply trust those shoes and know they're going to work for them, they have experience in them. That's perhaps why we haven't seen some of these others yet. Yes, the shoes are expensive, we cannot get away from that. And they're getting more expensive. Is that warranted? As I said before, every shoe's got an upper, a midsole, and outsole. Is that redesign process, though, really worth adding £60 to £70 or more on top of a new shoe price? Is that extra money going to equate to more comfort, more speed? And of course the answer there is going to be no. Certain shoes work for some people. It might be that a very cheap shoe works for you and you can run incredibly quick in it. I'm not convinced spending out cash gets you the best result. It's very much down to the tool that fits the runner. That isn't always the most expensive foam slab that you can put under your foot. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one, people, down in the comments. Musical interlude time. Great album by Johnny Marr. It's a live recording entitled Adrenaline Baby. This one features tracks from his other 3 solo albums released up to that point. One of the best tracks on here though is actually one that he did with Electronic originally, and it's the fantastic Getting Away With It. I love everything about the live performances that Johnny Marr has done of this track. He often does an extended kind of instrumental section later in the track. On this track it appears around about 3 minutes 42. There's some absolutely fantastic guitar playing here, chimey, jaguar stuff, lots of reverb and lots of delay. It just draws you in and it truly is wonderful. Pregiated guitar sort of playing, very quick sort of right hand movements there to get all the notes in. And he sort of plays with the melody. It kind of evolves and changes over the course of lots and lots of bars. Really is fantastic. Pretty much any live version here, but go and check this one out, guys. I think you'll enjoy it. Getting Away With It by Johnny Marr from his album Adrenaline Baby. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications. Also give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you